Hello, Tommy. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good. I have so many questions to ask you. First off, how dare you make such a heartbreaking documentary?
Yeah.
But it's a very good film. I was very engaged in, it, and I followed the story of Juice. But you were able to get such a personal look at it, and it's amazing film. Thank you.
Thank you. I
No,
appreciate that.
so I usually like to ask filmmakers or anything like your backstory. And since this is involving music, what is your hip hop origin story? What were some of your genre favorites growing up?
I I grew up in the Biggie Tupac era, and I was definitely Tupac all day. I like Biggie, but Tupac, and then Nas all day. Um, Tupac, Nas, Eminem are
Yeah.
probably my go tos.
A very formative artist. I'm a generation just after. I was a big Little Wayne and Kanye fan. That was my
Hmm.
that was so much. But yeah, I like that. I think that it's interesting to see how that grew from where we are with people like Trippy and Juice and Tyler the
Hmm.
Creator. Were
Hmm.
you when you saw Juice, did you understand that he was going to be the superstar that he ended up becoming?
No, not at all. Like it was like Ski Mask says it later in the doc where he talks about how y'all just started hearing Juice and started liking Juice. You don't know where you started liking him from, and it was true. It's
Yeah.
like the music was just everywhere all of a sudden, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, there it is again. And I didn't know much about Juice the person. I
Mhm.
just knew a bit of his music, and it was such an eye-opening experience for me, really digging in and understanding who he was, and then having the privilege of sharing that with the world, because I think so many people have no idea. They have no
Mhm.
idea the depths and complexities and all of these things that he was, because he was such a sweet kid. He was so caring. He was so unbelievably talented, and he was a musical prodigy. But you don't necessarily get to see the process in a
Yeah.
way that makes it clear.
Yeah.
And I
You can
remember,
only see so much on an Instagram live.
yes, like in sure, it's like you think it's cool, but there's so
Yeah.
much more. And Bill Simmons, who an EP on the film and has been very supportive, he asked me, "How come nobody thinks of Juice like Kurt Cobain?" And I said, "Because they haven't seen the film yet."
Mm. Ooh. Ooh, man, that was good. Ooh. Yeah, and I definitely think that is true. This was a very he's had so many layers to him. He was a tragic artist, but I also like those goofy, funny moments in the documentary too, when like the lightsaber fight, one of the best moments of the whole thing.
Yes, yes. It's like so much fun. And I wanted to make sure that we were able to see all of who he was, not a piece of it, not just this, cherry picked moment, but all of those things that contribute to who he was and why he was able to operate in the way that he did.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious. I wasn't able to pick up the timeline. How long were you with Juice collecting this footage and working with him?
So I didn't actually shoot any of it.
Oh,
And so it was two people who were there. It was Chris Long and Steve Cannon, and they
okay.
were shooting for about 18 months.
Wow.
And then I got the hard drive with all this footage January of this year.
Okay. Wow. And it's very impressive work. And I can imagine getting all of this footage. Was it a bit heartbreaking cutting this together? I'm sure it was probably sad watching it, but was there a like a hard moment there?
It was harder going through the footage in the
Hmm.
beginning, because exactly where I'm sitting now, this is my edit suite. I remember going through hour after hour, and I can only liken it to reading the diary of somebody who's passed away, where you get
Yeah.
to understand their innermost thoughts and fears and desires and concerns, only to know that there is no more.
Mm.
And it's like just somebody that you can't, you start caring for this person, but you're never going to have a conversation with
Yeah.
them. You're never going to shake their hand. You're never going to give them a hug. You're never going to do any of those things. and it was just me in this room with him.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just sitting there, it's like in my emotions, in my
Yeah.
feelings.
Well, you like gained a best friend and then lost a best friend probably in that time period.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. That.
Because as like spending the time with him, for the doc, you're with him for a little bit over an hour.
Yeah.
You fall in love with this kid.
Yeah.
It's like for me, I spent countless
Yeah.
and it's hard.
I can imagine. And the documentary isn't always the easiest viewing, not to get too into this, but there was a lot
Mhm,
of frank drug use. Was there ever, that's no secret to the Juice story, I think everyone
mhm.
knows, but was there ever a temptation to maybe not show it as much or kind of maybe gloss his image up a little bit? Or did you like showing a real human?
It was always about accurate representation of him and accurate portrayal of his story. And it was not my place
Hmm.
to omit stuff.
Hmm.
And what I wanted to do was to ensure that I wasn't and we weren't glamorizing the drug usage, but the drugs were there.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I also couldn't have told the story through the archive
Yeah.
without them because there were plenty more moments of drug usage.
Hmm.
And for as omnipresent as they are, like there was a lot.
Yeah.
And so my whole thing was just to make sure that it was done tastefully and with enough context
Yeah.
so that you were able to better understand him and the situation.
Well, I think you accomplished your mission there. I think it was portrayed as accurately and as it wasn't glamorized, but sometimes I was like, oh, stop. There would be scenes where I was
Oh
like,
no,
please,
like
please don't.
correct. By the time like the airplane scene in particular,
Yeah.
you can know nothing about Juice. And if by the time you get to that scene, you love this kid,
Yeah.
and it is fucking heartbreaking to watch that scene.
Yeah, it is.
It
Now,
it really is. And so go ahead.
yeah, I'm looking
What were
at
you gonna say?
this. Yeah, no, I'm looking at this documentary and I'm looking at the reaction that everyone's had towards Juice. I know my partner in life is a huge, I mean, has the 999 tattoo on him. So like a big fan. Why do you think, and I know your documentary kind of covers this, but why do you think not Juice was this voice for this generation? Why do you think he spoke to them so much?
I think that it was his vulnerability coupled with his incredible artistry.
Mm.
And so his willingness to bare his soul, his willingness to talk about whatever he was going through, because so many of us do go through similar things,
Mhm.
but we don't share it. I mean, barely with friends,
Yeah.
let alone with strangers. And he would talk about whatever it was, whether it was heartbreak or anxiety or depression or fear or any of it, it was all there laid bare. And so to see somebody else do that and to do it in such a beautiful way, it allows for so many of us to feel heard or seen because it's like, oh, that's the thing that I've been feeling
Yeah.
that he just talked about. That's the thing I've been struggling with. Oh, and it's in this song too, and it's in this song too, and it's in this song too. Oh yeah, and guess what? He's also at the concert. He's going to tell you to make sure you follow your dreams. You
Yeah.
make sure you do what's important to you. Oh yeah, and when he's on TV or doing a Billboard interview, oh yeah, there are mental health issues that aren't being addressed in our country that we should do something about. And
Yeah.
so to actively and intentionally use his platform in a way that gives voice to so much of what we struggle with, coupled with great music. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't work if it's just one or the other. It's not just, good music, but it's substanceless, or he's talking about things, but the music is trash. It's
Yeah.
both. And he was a good person on top of that.
No, I agree with you. Tommy, thank you so much for making this documentary and getting all this footage. I think this is going to help so many, especially young Black men who are struggling with mental illness. I hope they get this outlet. And thank you so much. I think this is a personal film for so many of us. So thank you again.
Thank you. Did your partner watch it with you?
Not yet. I have
Okay.
to tell him not. He wasn't supposed to know I watched it. You know, one of them like Netflix situations where like, nah, I haven't watched it yet. So yes, yeah, I can't wait though. I think it's gonna be a heartbreaking moment there.
Well, I hope that it's well. Yes, I'll leave it at that.
No, well,